Welcome back to Man vs. Meeple, the show where we talk about all things board game related. Today we have a Kickstarter preview for a game called Braveguard. This one comes from Partners in Fun, and we don't often have the chance to play a lot of family-friendly and kid-oriented games, but Braveguard is definitely one.
You might not. I do.
That's true.
I have a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old daughter. The 6-year-old gravitates towards your typical, your young, skewed, princess, fairy type game. So I do play them. We just don't put them on the channel because they just don't skew to our audience.
True,
However,
true.
we realize the importance of covering these type of games because games are played by all denominations of people and all age ranges. This one's a cool introduction to kid-style games that takes you out of the Monopoly. It takes you out of the life and the sorries and puts you in a fantasy world, which is perfect for the type of games that we play.
Yeah, this is definitely that next step into that sort of fantasy adventure style game.
Yes.
If you want to get your kids and your family steered in the direction of Dungeons and Dragons and things of that ilk, Braveguard might be the game.
Absolutely. Now it says in the box $8 to $99. However, if you want to read for your child's not yet reading, this could probably even skew a little bit younger, so you can teach them such things as leveling up and how to acquire equipment, how to move and where to go and those type of things. So the game is very, very simple to play. Each player is going to start with one of these boards in front of them. These boards have two different statistics that they are good at out of 4 possible ones. You have combat, agility, which is on my character, and the person right next to the left of me has intelligence and magic. Those are your base values.
Right, and these characteristics are going to come into play in a sort of a subtle way. As you overcome challenges or as you face challenges, there are things that are laid out that kind of might steer you in the direction of like, I wonder, that probably uses intelligence. It's a great way to get kids thinking a little bit out of the box that way.
Each of the players can hold 1 weapon and 1 piece of armor, which is below on their player board. Then also each player is going to start with 3 life. You're trying to stay alive, trying to complete different tasks in the game. The whole point is to collect honor, though.
Yeah, the glory tokens are what you're going out to complete quests, come back to town with the most glory. In fact, once you have 10 glory and you return back to town and declare yourself the most glorious, you win the game. Unless someone else that same turn can get back there and do the same thing.
Yep, the board is broken into a number of different tiles, or hexagons. Players will start in the town or city within the center, and their whole idea is to move around with a roll and move function to get to very specific areas on the board. Now at the start of the game, each player is going to start with a quest. These quests are double-sided. In fact, all the cards in the game that you'll be using are double-sided.
Yes. In fact, for instance, I have the quest here called A Cold Wind Blows, and this one's going to take me, or direct me, to go to the Ice Palace. So you need to locate the Ice Palace and then sort of plot your course, like Jeremy said, with a roll and move mechanic. Now here's the interesting thing. As you roll and move, things continue to happen every time you move. So you're going to roll the dice, you're going to add any agility bonus you might have, which is one of those base statistics, and if you've picked up an armor or a weapon that give you more agility, you're going to add that as well. Move, and if you end up in the plains, you're going to pull a plains card. If you end up in the forest, and ruins. So as you move out, those get more and more difficult as you approach the sort of outer edge of the board where all the locations are.
Right. So on these cards, when you look at them, they have 2 different options for the players to decide when they land in that particular area. And for instance, I found a broken bridge. I can either repair it or I can run and jump. This is the cool portion about the game for younger kids. They look at this and they decide, well, to repair it, I probably need intelligence, right? And then to run and jump, I probably need agility. And kids are going to start to figure that out and make a decision, but they can't look at the back side of the card. They have to make that decision, look at what abilities they have and what bonuses they have from the piece of weapons or the weapon and the piece of armor that they have that can adjust that statistics.
Right.
And then they're going to flip it over.
Yeah, once you flip it over, this is when it's going to be revealed what statistics are going to be challenged. So depending on which choice you made, you're going to flip it over, follow that same choice and see what you need. So for instance, in this case, if you were going to repair the bridge, you need 3 intelligence to repair the bridge. You need 3 agility if you're going to run and leap over it. Now, what you do here is, again, it's a roll and resolve. So you roll the dice, then you add again any bonuses you have from your weapons, armor, or your base statistics. If you meet or succeed or exceed the number, you've passed. This one, if you pass, you get a copper treasure.
Yep.
Now this brings in sort of the next set of cards over here. There's copper, silver, and gold treasures. These are going to be associated with the different areas for the most part. If you're resolving something in the plains, it's copper, and so on and so forth. These are items and weapons, all unique, by the way,
Right.
that have bonus statistics like we've already mentioned. So for instance, here's a blessed bow, which gives you a +2 agility and a +1 magic. You're going to take this and you're going to put it in your weapon slot.
Yep.
Now, going through the game, you can take more items and weapons, but like Jeremy said at the beginning, you can only hold one of each. So if you take a weapon, you're going to have to replace this, and you just simply put it back into the back of the deck.
Yep. All the while you're trying to progress to your particular quest. When you make it to the quest location, once again, you're going to flip that card over, not knowing what you need to complete. You're going to look and try to figure out what it is, and then you're going to roll and resolve to see if you can complete that particular quest. These will actually give you your glory that you're trying to acquire through the course of the game. Now, going back to combat, if you do lose combat, you're going to lose 1 of your health. If you don't roll successfully, you lose a health. If you lose all 3 health, what happens?
If you lose all 3 health, you're going to take your pawn on the board and move it to the closest camp, and there are camps spread throughout the map here, or the town if you happen to be closest to the town. As soon as that happens, your turn ends, and then on your next turn, you're going to flip all of your hearts over. But that's it.
Right.
Nothing else. Then you have to wait another turn before you can then sort of pick up where you left off. You don't lose your weapons and items. This is a very, like we've said, family-friendly thing. So there's not. It's not very punishing. However, there are some variants in the rule book to make it a little dicier. There's some PvP rules, in fact, that they're going to be adding potentially through stretch goals. So they definitely have built this thing with kids and families in mind. But there's probably a fair amount of room through stretch goals, maybe through some other things, to get the game up to slightly more enthusiast level.
Now, if your kids are particularly interested in fighting bosses, you can do that. However, they're very difficult in the game. They're called fiends. And you typically don't want to do that until you have leveled up well enough and have a nice piece of weapon and a nice piece of armor on your character. There's several different locations on the board that you can go to. These creatures, however, require 7, 8, 9, and sometimes 10 on your die roll in combination with your equipment to beat.
Yeah, that brings up a really good point. If you've ever played an old sort of video game RPG, this has that sort of progression where, if you remember, you go off into an area and you get killed.
Yeah.
And you realize, oh, I'm not ready for that area.
Right.
Another great lesson for kids as they realize through playing the game that, you know what, I'm going to spend a little time in the plains, maybe get a weapon and an item. Once I have that weapon and item, I can go out to the forest because I have more statistics for my rules.
Right.
And then so on and so forth as you get out to the fiends. At a certain point, if you're carrying a couple gold items, you're in pretty good shape. The players and kids in particular are going to feel really powerful with this incredible set of armor and an incredible weapon going off and resolving mostly successfully at that point a lot of the encounters.
Yeah, and again, just to go over the end game, once one player has 10 glory, they have to make it back to the center of the board and finish their turn there, and they will win.
Right.
So remember, it's not all about enthusiast games.
Nope.
If you have kids, this is a perfect game to sit down and introduce these different types of elements and mechanics within a game. If you need a kid, if you have a kid that likes superheroes and fantasy type things, this is the one you want to do.
Yeah, in fact, I was speaking with the designer Andrew earlier, and he said one of the big reasons he made this is because he wanted to turn his kids into geeks like him.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
You know, you can learn and they can play those different sorts of games. I didn't have this sort of thing when my kids were younger, you know, so I was playing Life and Monopoly and things like that. So great opportunity to sort of introduce your kids and your family to games like this.
If you guys have questions about the game, make them in the comments below. Please subscribe to us, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and everything else that we do here at Man vs. Meeple, and catch us next time.
Bye-bye.
Season 2 of Man vs. Meeple is sponsored in part by Cool Stuff Inc. Cool stuff in stock at coolstuffinc.com.